Hello everyone, this is Rachel Kirkland here, the Modern Shaman. Thanks for being with me for another weekly YouTube question and answer time. Alright, so here is the question of this week, and I'm just going to read it. It says, "Hi Rachel, why do my mediumship abilities seem to come and go and not feel consistent? It seems like I get some messages and then it just shuts down. Is my energy too low? Am I not grounded? Am I eating something that's messing it up? Does it just take more practice? I have no idea what's going on, and it's hard not to get frustrated. It makes it harder to trust myself, and I want to be able to do this to help people." Okay, so great question, and I'm trying to think about where I want to start with this. Okay. So first thing I want to say to you is just like a little vote of confidence and giving you a boost that when your desire is sincere, when your heart is in a place, and you hit the nail on the head when you said, I want to be at the last sentence that you said, I want to be able to help people with my ability. When you're coming from that space and not so much from an ego, like I want to get it right, or I want to be famous, or I want to. And I've had all of that with clients. I've had a lot of people come to me for different reasons. But when your heart is in the right place and you have a sincere desire to help others with your form of connection, I always feel like spirit will work that out. From the other side, there will be a sense of connection for you. Okay. Another point I want to make, and I feel like this isn't talked about often enough, but spirit from the other side, particularly with mediumship, if you're trying to communicate and be a bridge for those that have crossed over, depending on that entity or that spirit, some of them are better at communicating than others. And just like we are, just like how we have, days in the physical realm, and people in the physical realm that are great at communicating, that can stand up on a podium and give a huge speech and just be fine and great with it. And we can feel totally enveloped in their storytelling and all the imagery they give us, and they're really using their arms and just body language. They're communicating so proficiently, and we're like, wow, that was awesome. And then there's others that are shy and that are standoffish and that may feel like they have trouble communicating, and they may have thoughts, but it doesn't come out right. And we all have days where we're on that spectrum somewhere of being like super fluent with our communication versus having trouble and feeling a little bumbly and off. Well, spirits on the other side are the same way. And even when I'm having sessions sometimes with the same spirit on the other side, sometimes they may be great at communicating with me and their imagery is coming through really sharp, and their telepathic communication in terms of emotional energy is just like, I can feel everything they're feeling. And then there's other days and other times or other spirits that are really shy. They stand like 5 feet back. They kind of don't really want to give things away. I have to kind of like pull the information out, and it's like pulling teeth sometimes. Now that doesn't mean that you're not an accurate medium, or you don't have connection and your connection's lost, or your gift is not as strong. It actually means the opposite. You're still connecting, you're still communicating, but sometimes that level of proficiency doesn't just come from you, it comes also from the other side with spirit. And just learning to communicate that to your client or to who you're trying to help, or to be aware of it yourself even, is helpful. Because, and I've had this scenario where someone sat down for a mediumship session and they've said, I want to connect with my uncle or my dad or whoever, and I've said to them, oh my gosh, it feels like pulling teeth to get him to talk to me. Like, he's just being really standoffish, and everything I'm talking, I'm asking really direct questions, and he's giving me one-word answers. He's not showing any imagery. If I just communicate that, a lot of times they'll come back with, yeah, that's exactly how he was in this life. He never said 2 words. He wouldn't get involved in the situation. He was really hands-off and didn't want to have anything to do with my life. And so it's actually very accurate in your form of connection, but the communication may be just that. It may be that they have a hard time communicating, or that there's a strain in the energy that they feel when they're trying to express something. All right? So that's good to just remember, and just to communicate that to those that you're wanting to help. Like I said, it doesn't mean your connection is off. It just means that in terms of communication, they may have difficulty communicating. But even that in itself is a form of confirmation for those that you're helping, is a form of that you're doing the right thing, that you're on track in terms of your connection with the other. Also, I will say, when we are trying to strengthen our connections with the non-physical realm, I always encourage people that I'm mentoring or working with in terms of classes to pay attention to things that make them feel like they are fully in sync with God or with Source. Things that feel like to you, you're able to feel non-physical energy. So that's different for everyone. So there's not one telltale thing that I can say, you need to always do this, and meditation is the way to go for you, or hiking and being out in nature is the way to go for you. Those may be great for one person and not great for another in terms of connection to spirit. And I use those examples because those are both ones that I've seen that have come up with people that I've mentored, where one person may feel like they get direct downloads and they're just channeling like crazy when they're out hiking. Nature just speaks to them. They can hear the trees. They can feel the energy through their skin, and they're really connected in that space. Then there's others that literally need to meditate in a closet, not outside. They need to have darkness. They need to feel like they're in a space of essentially a cave. They need to cut off and have sensory deprivation to go inside and feel like they get a lot of communication once everything else is shut out. So the first thing in terms of advice that I would give you for techniques to help build your own sense of connection is pay attention to how you already feel like you connect with spirit. What are those times? What are those environments? And then induce those environments on a very conscious, purposed level. All right, so give yourself 15 minutes, 20 minutes a day when that is your intention. And I mean, you're asking these questions, so I'm giving it to you kind of like homework. If you're wanting to be very intentional about it and to strengthen it, work at it like that. You do ask, is there something in terms of practice? And when I was first starting out in this in terms of healing, I fasted a lot because, and I'm not saying that's for everyone, but I know for me, you mentioned like, is it something that I'm eating? I know that I'm very affected by the physical things that I take in my body, and I feel hazier, or there's a sense of like being much more clear and centered in my heart space. I'm able to access a level of sincerity and depth when I'm fasting, and very, very empty of anything physical, than when I'm busy and chaotic and just eating and just kind of like not being very conscious with my sense of being, all right? And at the beginning, especially when I had clients that I was working on really intense diseases or things that had been labeled for them that were scary, or diagnoses that were intense, and I wanted, just me personally as a healer or as a psychic, if I really wanted that sense of clarity with what I was doing, I know I would move, because I know it's effective for me. I would move into a time of fasting and prayer and very intentional energy of quiet. So if there's things in your life that make you feel sluggish in terms of food, that make you feel chaotic in terms of patterns in your life, meaning if you're not getting enough alone time, if you're not meditating, or if you're not getting out of nature, if there's things that seem to, as simple as it sounds, and it is simple, if there's patterns or practices that seem to distract you or make you feel chaotic and unbalanced, then those are things that you can purposefully that you can purposefully go through and try to mitigate, try to take away some of those things in order to get you more aligned, feeling more focused, feeling more purpose. It's just making that commitment, that level of this is important to me, and I feel strong enough about it to make the commitment to the time and the effort that it's going to require. It doesn't mean that you're not always connected, that you don't always have the ability. You do. But just like I shared at the beginning, it's a muscle that feels like the sense of trust and alignment, that you're able to know it and know when you're synced up. That does have a sense of practice and dedication to it. And it does get better and better with time. It does. Okay, so another thing I will say with your mediumship, and I've shared this before on previous videos, but I would encourage you, if you have a daily practice with it, or if it's something that you really want to strengthen, to move into a regular dialogue with spirits and channel them, automatic write, and have a sense of clarification with it. I've shared that T-chart before, where you just draw a line on the paper, vertical line and a horizontal line. You have your name on one side and the name of the spirit that you're connecting with on the other side. You invite them in a sense of safety and space for openness, that only that spirit may communicate with you. And then you ask questions. Question on one side from you, and the answer that you feel, hear, know, or see on the other side. You don't try to understand it while you're in that time of communication. You're just writing back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, as if you were hearing a conversation as the observer. Just let that flow go through. And then notice, with all of your senses, all levels of communication. So don't forget about the feeling tone that comes into what they're saying, because someone from the other side can say, I love you, or they can say, like, I love you. There can be an intensity or passion with it. Don't forget the emotional tone of what they're communicating. Then imagery, go into any sort of colors, go into any sort of, like I said, tonal qualities with the way that they say it. Or even just knowing, go into your sense of knowing what is being communicated here. Sometimes there's a deeper message and you can feel it, that they're saying something, but there's a deeper meaning to what they're saying. So practice this, going deeper and deeper and deeper in terms of levels of communication. This is something that we've learned to do when we, like when we study literature or we study poems. A lot of times there's symbolism in the imagery and the metaphor, and we learn to analyze it. So the first thing is just getting it down, and then being able to learn the layers of multidimensional communication, because they're always speaking to you multidimensionally. So the more you're open to the layers within the message, the layers within the imagery, the knowing, the hearing, the tonal quality, the emotional quality, any sort of other information that comes through, the more you'll feel like you have the ability to access the information for the person that you're sitting with, or whatever it may be, whoever you're wanting to help, to kind of differentiate the layers there. Because sometimes spirits speak in so many layers, especially if you're channeling archangels or galactic beings, or those that are used to communicating telepathically with the multidimensional aspects to them. There is so many levels and layers to what's being communicated. So practice breaking it down in that realm, as well as just the languaging. I hope that's helpful to you guys, and it gives you a little boost of confidence that you're on the right track. Keep practicing and stay sincere with your heart and your desire. Blessings.